You guys know who I'm joined with today. It's the one and only Drakkar Klose set to take on Jai Herbert coming up in February. What's going on, sir? How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. And unfortunately, it seems like you just missed the boat for UFC Fight Island. Is that something an unfortunate thing? You're one of those guys glad to stay in Vegas, stay local.
I'm glad to stay local, and plus, I don't have a passport. You know, every time they be like, "Oh, we need you to fight in Russia," I'm like, "Oh, I don't have a passport."
It sounds like a strategic move on your part. Like, you could go out and get the passport. Like, I'm sure if they had something in the Bahamas or something real nice, like all of a sudden, boom, here comes the passport.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll get it then.
Yeah. Well, it can't be too complicated. Like I know my passport is super complicated to do because I'm not American, but for you, it's like what you have to take a picture. I think CVS and stuff like that. Like it doesn't. I don't think it's that
Yeah,
complicated.
it's not much. You know what I mean? I can probably get it. You know, because I think the if I'll go down to Tucson, that's like the headquarters down there, and I'm pretty sure I could get it really quick.
I mean, UFC. What do they say in that situation? Like, because I know, like, if I try to tell my boss something like that, I would get yelled at. But I assume for you, it's like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll get somebody else.
I don't know. Like, they really never like. I think there was a couple times they wanted me to fight like in Russia, and I'm like, I don't have a passport. You know what I mean? But I don't think it was a big deal. So
I mean, plus Russia, it's not like the nicest place. Like, it's famous for being cold. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, like if we could stay sunny, I mean, especially where you're at, it's like,
yeah, yeah, and I don't want to go to Russia and get robbed. You know what I mean? You have to actually kill the guy to be victorious.
oh man. Yeah, I mean, if you see a guy with the Abraham Lincoln beard show up, right? Like, just go ahead and give him your stuff. Like, you about to be in for
Oh
a hell of a time.
yeah.
All right, man. Let's talk about this fight a little bit. You're taking on Jai Herbert. It's not quite the name that Beneil Dariush was, but what was your reaction when your manager, whomever, they came to you and said like this guy was next?
um, I thought it was a good matchup. Looking at it, he had a tough fight. He was winning that fight until he got caught. It's kind of like the same situation. I mean, Beneil was beating me the first round, and I kind of, the second round, I stunned him a little bit, kind of just like that. He was winning, and he got clipped, and that was the fight.
I mean, it,
But
it was it was of course. I mean, it was a big knockout, but I feel like the fact the extra controversy, right, with Dan Hardy standing up and everything, like made it so much worse than what it really was. Looking back on it.
yeah, yeah, because he was out. You know what I mean? Which is he didn't want to. We already take a lot of damage, in camp, and you know, me like if I was to knock someone out, I'm gonna keep hitting him until the ref. You know what I mean? He was a nice guy to kind of sit back and not try to hurt him.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Like if you stop hitting him when he goes down like that, and the ref doesn't jump in, then all of a sudden, like your opponent wakes back up or something crazy like that, then you're gonna be pissed looking back on that one.
Yeah, yeah. But there's times too, like where I've knocked someone out, and then the next punch woke him back.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of weird, like even like with Beneil, I think like I wasn't all the way out. Like as soon as he hit me, I was like in my head, I'm like, fuck, I lost and I fell. I think if he'd hit me again, it would have woke like my body would have stuck. I think if he'd hit me, I'm moving again. But it was a good stoppage.
I'm surprised you were so lucid during that moment. Like you hear some guys like they get knocked out or something. They're like, all of a sudden the lights went off, and before you know it, I'm with the doctor. But it's crazy to hear that you're aware of everything that's happening.
Yeah, as soon as he like I like fuck, I lost. And then when I hit the ground, I'm like, I'm trying to, but like my body fucking shut off.
When you fight someone like Jai, like yeah, it seems like it's a very dangerous fight for you, right? Because he's still young in his UFC career. You've been around for a long time. Like it feels like there's a lot of stakes for you in this one.
Yeah, you know what I mean. This was his second fight in UFC, but at the end of the day, man, it's a fight. You know what I mean. I'm not trying to be around for a long time. I'm just here for a good time. You know what I mean. So and
This fight with Beneil, like I feel like we're hearing you talk about it, and you're so like lucid and like able to talk about. Like some fighters try to talk about their losses, and they don't want to chat about it at all. How are you able to have such a good attitude about it?
dude, because my fears is gone. You know what I mean. Like I was like, oh, I never want to be on someone's highlight. Oh, I never want to be knocked out. Like fuck, it happened. I was highlighted and knocked out all in one. So like all my fears are gone. I think that's better for me because I know that fight I made a mistake. You know what I mean? I should have been a little bit more calm once I had him. You know what I mean? I already knew his legs were gassed, but when you see Iron Man and Michael Irvin and all these people in the crowd, it's like you want to put a show on for them. So
I mean, that was a big thing, right? Like you guys, it seemed like both of you, because people give you both credit. You both threw caution to the wind, and you're like, someone's getting knocked out in the next like 5 seconds or something. What went through your mind mentally where you decided like, let's just go for it? Like, is that something you're consciously thinking about, or does it kind of just happen?
uh like even before the fight, like I was like I knew I was gonna rock him. It was just like, hey, just stay patient and just get him out. Like take your time. But as soon as I rocked him, like the whole crowd went crazy, and I just started to swing, and hands got the drop in, and that's just how it is. That's part of the fight game.
Well, when for fighters like we see you guys, you take your first loss or a big loss like that. Not everybody can take it well. Like you have some examples like Ronda Rousey or others like Dominic Cruz against Cody Garbrandt. Were you prepared ever for something like that? Like, listen, if I lose this, kind of how I want to handle it, or did you just whatever happens happens?
Like I tell Courtney, man, it's only a fight. You know, after that, I went to the club and we got turned up and had a good time. You know what I mean? So hey, I'm not dead. I got to see my son the next day. So just get back into the gym and start training and prepare for what's next.
Well, you mentioned two things from your last fight that we're not going to see this time around. You mentioned the crowd going crazy, so it's crowd that's over, and clubbing. Like I strongly doubt with COVID you're going to be able to go clubbing. Like it sounds like this fight, there's going to be a lot of stuff missing for you.
Yeah, actually, I think not having the crowd there, it might play in my favor. Because you hit someone hard or not even hard. You think it's hard just because you hear the crowd, and then you overreact. You know what I mean? Now it's like, you hit them, it's not a good one. You're not gonna overreact and go crazy and get clipped like I did.
The big thing with the no crowd is that you can hear everything. Like you know what I mean. With the crowd, you don't hear anything. Now with you guys, like you can hear every punch, but you hear a lot of the breathing too. Is it? I mean, obviously you're used to that in sparring, but is it going to be weird being able to hear his corner, being able to hear literally everything that's happening in the cage?
No, I'm prepared for it because his coaches are gonna be screaming out things for him to do, and I'm gonna hear that. I'm like, oh no, that's not gonna work on me.
Are you able to pick up on the codes? Like I know some guys have weird stuff, like they'll yell out bacon or something, and all of a sudden you get head kicked or something. Are you able to sort of figure out some of the other people's codes?
Um, be honest, like I've never really even heard like too many of the other coaches. I've always heard my coaches. So it'll be interesting. You know what I mean? Hearing that and trying to pick up on those codes.
You go into this one, obviously you had the Beneil fight last time out. What's your mentality like going into this fight? Are you looking to, make a big statement? Do you feel like you have a chip on your shoulder? Is it just like any other fight for you?
No, with all this time off, I've realized that the UFC it's just a business. Um, I can win 10 straight fights and still not fight for a title. So it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If the UFC wants you to be a champion, they'll figure out a way. They'll push you. They'll give you the right matchups to make you a champion. Like Charles Oliveira, perfect example. Tony Ferguson, all these dudes, they went on long winning streaks, but at the end of the day, they finally got a interim shot at a title. So it's like if they don't like you, you're not going to be champion.
So what's the solution for you? Because I do hear fighters and they do say that quite often. But is the big thing like when you start winning these fights, you have to go out there and do the Nate Diaz call out? You taking everything I work for? Like what's the solution to getting those good graces?
Man, I'm just trying to get all as much money as I can now, man. Like just go out here and just win. I don't care if I'll hold somebody for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like You,
Yeah.
you lose, you only get paid once. You know what I mean? Kind of sucks, but um, just go out there and win. Because at the day, that's the only thing that matters.
And so with this fight against Jai, do you feel like the experience, like the fact that you've been in the UFC longer and everything, you feel like that's going to be a big advantage for yourself?
Um, no, no, not really. You know, I always think it's tougher for people to fight like a day because you don't know what they're still kind of young to the game. So whatever, it feels like the more you train and learn, the more patient you are. I kind of like when Tony Ferguson fought. It was like he just threw a kick and almost beat him.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Before we wrap things up, man, what kind of fight are you expecting here against this one? Like you have someone like him who's got a lot to prove. I feel like you have something to prove yourself too. But like you said, you want to go out there and get the win and keep racking up these paychecks. I mean, what kind of fight are you expecting in this one?
um, you know, uh, I've went for 0 submission attempts in my UFC career. So I think I'm gonna go for some submission attempts this fight and hopefully get the submission.
When you say submission attempts, like are we going to be talking like fundamental stuff, like maybe a guillotine or a rear naked choke, or are you going to start throwing some flying stuff out there and might see something crazy?
You might see some Demetrius Johnson type, lift up, arm
Yeah,
bars. But
man.
no, just the basics, man. Basic win fights, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to do. It's not a jiu-jitsu match, you know what I mean? We're doing knee bars and all that crazy stuff, you know what I mean? The basics is what wins the fights. Rear nakeds, guillotines, nothing too crazy.
Well, that's the thing, right? A lot of people expect like crazy submissions and stuff like that, but as soon as you can get punched in the face, right? Like that changes the kind of submissions you can go for.
Yep, yep. You hit him a couple times and, he might want to get out there and give his neck up and snatch his neck.
Is that a real thing we see during fights? Like we'll see, like the media will say like a fighter quit or something, and then everybody gets on their ass. But we feel like fighters, they say like some guys do that a little bit, where they give up a submission so that they can quit. Is that a real thing we see during fights?
I don't know. I've never been situation, but I think it could play like if you're 2 rounds and the guy is just dominating you. I believe fighters like, hey, instead of getting knocked out, I'd rather just get out and kind of give up their neck. But in that situation, I'd rather.
You're gonna hear it a million times, so here we go, 1,000,001. But we've got a little bit of a taste of it. But how do you see yourself getting your hand raised?
I'm gonna go out and meet this guy.
There we go. Simple enough submission. Like we said, nothing crazy, right? We're gonna look for the fundamentals. Listen, man, it's gonna be a great fight. I'm looking forward. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.